What if there were two of me? Hey everyone, Dog here. Today I saw the 17th entry of the Mickey series, Mickey 17. I had no idea what this film was about. I didn't even know this film was going to be a comedy, let alone directed by Bong Joon-ho. I have not seen the trailer until the day I watched this movie, and I only heard about it through the Moist Man himself talking about it on stream. I heard Robert Pattinson was in it, and I went, yeah, I like Robert Pattinson. And the following day, I went to go see Robert Pattinson. Mickey 17 was a surprisingly fun watch. I'd completely forgotten that this was the same director behind Parasite and Snowpiercer, and I found out this movie was actually a follow-up from Parasite. I had no idea the talent behind this film until literally moments before going into the theater. I'm telling you, I heard Robert Pattinson was in it, and it was like I was hypnotized immediately. I love Parasite, I'm sure we all do. Looking back, I think this film is perfect, and I'm glad I'm finding out Joon-ho made Mickey 17, because I needed a reminder about his good work. But now knowing that this is the same director, Mickey 17 is definitely a different step from what I would expect after seeing Parasite or from any of Joon-ho's work. I don't think Mickey 17 is as good as Parasite or Snowpiercer. I think honestly when comparing this movie to Joon-ho's other work, Mickey 17 is on the lower end, but I don't think this film is far behind. There's still a lot to enjoy. The plot itself feels refreshing, the acting is amazing on all ends, the cinematography was really fucking good. And the movie was funny as fuck. That's why I'm more surprised because the guy behind socio-economic class issues is the one that made this comedic ass narrative. Mickey 17 is definitely a new step for Joon-ho, being that this film is a sci-fi romantic dark comedy with a blend of different director styles, while also hinting at current political issues and leaders in our time period. No spoilers, but diving into the plot, Mickey 17 follows a political leader who fails the election twice, leaving him to believe the world is corrupt, and going on to fund a space expedition to colonize New Planet. You can see where this is going. We follow the main character, Mickey Barnes, as he is hired as an expendable, someone whose purpose is to perform dangerous tests on the new planet they discover, and in case of death, is reprinted and cloned. It's a pretty fucking wild plot. Honestly, having no idea what this film was about going into it, you can only imagine the confused laughter on my face as they went on with this idea. And as you can imagine, there are tons of political references and motivations from the real world that I feel inspired a couple of ideas in this film. Hearing that this film was unfortunately under Warner Bros. Supervision, it honestly wasn't that big of a surprise to hear that this film had gone under a few delays, with the original release date being in 2024. And I definitely see that. Mickey 17 definitely seemed like a pre-Trump election movie. But putting that aside, it doesn't ruin the film at all. Mickey 17, while having a lot to compete against with Parasite, is still a very good movie on its own, with really only one negative that I can list, which sets it back from the rest of Joon-ho's work. So let's dive into it, with my first major positive note being that the plot is really well done. With such a crazy and out of their idea, they play this really well. The plot can really go under a multitude of genres when watching, and I feel this shows Joon-ho's ability to really break a genre. It's comedic, it's entertaining, it's sci-fi, it's romantic, but most importantly, it's interesting and enjoyable from the start. There are parts where the story kind of drags on a little bit, which I'll get into later, but the plot as a whole is executed really well. And with this great plot, the performances occupying each role are insanely talented. I was originally going to have this as a notable point, being that Robert Pattinson delivers the most in this movie as Mickey Barnes, but looking back, I really did enjoy every performance and thought every actor did a talented job at delivering their role. From Mark Ruffalo's Trump impersonation with Toni Collette to Naomi Akkie's role, all the way up to Yeun, and of course Robert Pattinson did a fantastic job. Every role and the talent in this film is really intriguing to watch, and the performances only keep you more intrigued throughout the film. And moving away from the talent behind the writing and acting, the cinematography, camera work, and cuts are beautiful. I think this is the one positive that slightly beats Parasite, being that this movie takes place in space and sci-fi related settings. The locations, cinematography, and CGI are a bit harder to work with. Joon-ho is known for his impressive camera work and expression in his scenes with his previous movies, but I think he really hit a home run with Mickey 17 and made these impressive moments feel seamless and baseline. Really good stuff. Those are really the big three positives I have for this film, being the narrative, acting, and cinematography. Mentioning a quick notable with Mickey 17 before heading into the negative, I thought this movie was fucking hilarious. The humor doesn't always land and there are some jokes that kind of drag, but that's really a rare occurrence with the majority of the humor in this film. Nothing is forced and the humor all seems natural. It doesn't carry the film by any means, but it's a good addition for the film. Okay, but now we can talk about the bad. With this really being the only negative I had with the film, this does end up being crucial when talking about Joon-ho's works. His movies are practically perfect, and going back on most of his works, it's really hard to find something majorly negative with movies like Parasite and Snowpiercer. So with Mickey 17, it does end up lowering this film under the rest of his work. and this is in reference to the pacing of the narrative, mainly in the second half and towards the end. Solutions to conflicts in the film just kind of come out of thin air sometimes, or they'll spend too much time with dialogue in certain scenes, or characters will get introduced and some get more screen time when nothing is really happening for them, when other characters get introduced that don't get as much screen time when they needed it. And especially at the end, dialogue stretches when the solution doesn't really get any explanation or build up. Everything that was introduced was good, and I believe the plot still works throughout the entirety of the film. There were just a lot of moments where there was not enough screen time, too much screen time, and the pacing is just sort of all over the place. But enough hoopla. That's really my only major negative with this film. It's time to plug Mickey 17 into the dog film rating guide. How this works is that we start at 5 out of 10 and add or subtract a point for every positive and negative in the film. Anything notable can vary, with it either adding or subtracting only half a point. Starting with the positives, I'm adding a point for the plot and writing in Mickey 17. I think they execute a lot of ideas in this film excellently, and the entirety of the narrative is both intriguing and entertaining from the start. I'm also adding another point for the acting and talent in this film. I think every actor hits their role perfectly, especially Robert Pattinson. Every actor does a fantastic job. And finally, I'm adding one last point for the cinematography in Mickey 17. I think this is a positive that one-ups Parasite just slightly, but the camera work and visuals in this film are gorgeous. Moving on to the negative, I'm subtracting a point for the pacing issues throughout the second half and ending of this film. I think the plot still works, but there are moments in substance that could have had more time or been given less time. But with that being my only negative, moving on to the notable, I'm giving half a point for the comedy. I don't think it's anything grand, but the humor hits and feels natural. I think it's enough to give some credit for. Plugging all this in, Mickey 17 achieved a 7.5 out of 10, earning a B+, making this film very good. I think this is fair. Compared to Joon-ho's other works, Mickey 17 falls towards the lower end of his ratings, but I still think this movie was pretty enjoyable to watch, and that says a lot about Joon-ho as a director and a writer. This film isn't thought-provoking like Parasite or Joon-ho's other works, but Mickey 17 is still a good watch. Let me know what you think, if you agree or think I missed anything with Mickey 17, but that's about it. I'll see y'all.